He's dictated the Metro's law director to initiate an investigation into how these images could have been released. That investigation may involve local, state, and federal authorities. I am deeply concerned with the safety, security, and well-being of the Covenant families and all Nashvillians who are grieving. What's your response to his concern?
I'm deeply concerned with their safety as well, because 6 people are dead, 3 of them children. And we now know the motivation, or at least we have an idea as to the motivation. When their police chief went out and said, oh, maybe at some point we'll run an investigation. It's right there.
Crowder tells WSMV4 investigates a journalist from his team flew into Nashville to see the images on the source's phone and verified that the images came from a phone number from someone who was on the scene of the shooting. Crowder says it was then verified by a Metro detective. He says he'll also go to jail before releasing the identity of that source.
Steven Crowder, I gotta give it up to Steven Crowder because I gotta give it up to him and his team for literally getting a leak of the manifesto 7-8 months ago. A lot of people were very skeptical on why they would hide the manifesto. We had no idea what their motivation for hiding this is. A lot of people speculated that the manifesto was probably more towards Christians, because we did know this person was a transgender. We were thinking probably this individual was angry and wanted to release said anger on Christian children and adults that were there at the school. Well, turns out from the 3 pages, it could still be the case, but we were leaked 3 pages of the manifesto that basically described anti-whiteism. And this person, Aubrey, I believe, Aubrey Hale, is a white person herself, a white person that is mentally unstable and has absorbed so much anti-whiteism to have self-hate, to literally hate herself because of her skin color, so much that she would describe in this manifesto that they were, quote, crackers and maggots as well, doing language that you would kind of describe as herself, because she is also part of the LGB, etc., and using said language to describe these children. I mean, that's how disturbing it is. But we got to give props to Steven Crowder for breaking this story, because it gives us so much more of a nuance of what happened that day and what was the motivation for this individual. Now, of course, not everybody is happy about Steven Crowder breaking this news. Specifically, one of Steven Crowder's competitions in Jeremy Boring, who you guys might know as one of the founders of the Daily Wire. He describes as, Crowder is a dishonest, spiteful, narcissistic scumbag who even in his victories can't help but portray most everyone else doing good work in our space, including those who have sued for the release of the manifesto, like the Tennessee Star, as somehow not significantly pure or dedicated or conservative. His, quote, no truth Scotsman, end quote, schmick is offensive and tired. But credit where it's due, he landed a huge and important story. Of course, the Daily Wire writes an article on the matter. And yeah, I like their top comment right here. Steven Crowder and his team deserve the credit. Yeah, so as the title reads, the Nashville mayor has basically put a hit on the so-called leaker that gave this information to Steven Crowder. Nashville mayor orders investigation after Covenant school shooters' writings were posted online. They describe that the mayor of Nashville is wanting to get federal involvement, state involvement into finding the leaker. And what are they going to do? Like if, say, for example, they did find the leaker, right? What, they're going to throw this guy in jail because he leaked the manifesto to Steven Crowder and actually did legit journalism to where we find out the truth? You know, and they're still not wanting to verify that this manifesto is legitimate or not. And they're doing that for a reason, because they don't want to admit to you that this is actually real. But then simultaneously, they're going to launch an investigation to find out who leaked this maybe real or not real manifesto. So a lot of mixed languages from the Nashville mayor and their motivations for that. But we can safely assume that this is legitimate manifesto. And they're afraid of all 20 pages of it, by the way, to be leaked out. But I mean, we'll see if that's the case. I hope more information comes out to that. But as far as the 3 pages that came out, I'm not going to read it to you because YouTube's probably still going to demonetize this video regardless of it because of the subject in general. But yeah, a lot of parents are also outraged, or supposedly 100 parents of the Covenant School are outraged by this manifesto being leaked, which of course I think is absolutely garbage in the case. Like, really 100 parents all feel the same exact way and don't want this manifesto to be leaked at all whatsoever. And they don't even talk about the parents that were actually like their kids were victims, like actual victims. So this guy right here made a whole press conference about how offended he was about Steven Crowder's leak. And he was one of the parents of the surviving children. And let's check out what he had to say about it.
Unimaginable terror.
That's how Brent Leatherwood describes the day in March when a shooter entered the Covenant School, killing 3 kids and 3 staff members. His 3 kids survived the shooting, but his heart aches even more after a conservative talk show host leaked images of the shooter's writings.
So now, the community, a school, families who have already suffered so much were left yet again to deal with this terror.
Earlier this year, Covenant School parents filed a lawsuit to prevent the writings from being released to the public, concerned that this would ensue another attack.
We saw this in Allen, Texas, where that shooter referenced the Covenant shooter. How many more people have to be killed in a senseless way so that you can get clicks?
He shared a strong message to the person in law enforcement who leaked the images of the writings.
You are a viper. You're a member of the law enforcement community. And you have released evidence that was gathered in our most vulnerable moment. You have now allowed this woman who terrorized our family with bullets to be able to now terrorize us with words from the grave.
Oh, please. So yeah, their main excuse here is feelings. Like, Steven Crowder releases 3 pages of the manifesto. Feelings. Oh, we're gonna come back to it. We have to relive words. Yeah. Like, okay, here's the thing. We can't be so sensitive in this situation. We need to know exactly what's going on and what was motivating with these particular shooters, okay? This whole, it's going to influence copycats, etc. I kind of get where you're coming from, but the root of the problem has always stemmed from more than just releasing the manifestos, but realize it's a small percentage of people that actually replicate or psychopath enough to go through with these types of heinous crimes. And I think in order to mitigate that, a lot of people says, oh, we got to help out mental health, right? Mental health is the main key, which I completely agree with that to a particular extent. But I think even more so, if you look at every single shooter that went in and we look at and examine their personal life, all of them have one major thing in common, and it's they were all raised by single mothers. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. 70% of prison systems are also raised under single mothers, okay? Bring up the race, the black community, 75% of them born bastards, single mothers, and the blacks commit about 52% of all homicides, as well as 37% of all violent crimes. So is that a coincidence? I think that the single parent household is the main root of many of the issues we stem here in America, and that also plays into mental health. Okay, so yeah, it's obviously it's a complicated thing. It's not, there's no such thing as like a Band-Aid to put over these situations, but nevertheless, we need to know what's going on to better help the future of how to handle said situations. And like I said, guys, let's not even forget that the very next day, 7-8 months ago, when this happened, we had far leftists go to the Tennessee Capitol and have a moment of silence and doing 7 fingers up for all of the victims that happened, including Aubrey Hale, who was the shooter, honoring her.
Every death is a tragedy, y'all.
Because it's a tragedy. Holding up the 7. This is the lunacy that they're victimizing. They're saying that the shooter was a victim. All 7 fingers. It's like, okay. Let's not forget this, man. These people, psychopaths, not only honoring the 3 children as well as the 3 adults, but claiming that Aubrey Hale was also a victim. And they didn't want to release the manifesto that basically confirmed that Aubrey had mental health issues that required her to hate people of white skin. I mean, that read it there, guys. I'm not going to read it out loud on YouTube or anything like that, but it's there. You can find it. I'll link it down below for you guys to get the full context of that. Because at the end of the day, I mean, we got to talk about this situation here and what's going on. The left literally victimizes these types of people, puts a slap on the wrist. Even Aubrey Haley's parents were saying that she was a victim of her own mental health. They had no shame. They didn't condemn her or anything of the heinous crime that she just committed the day before. This is the lunacy. This is the crazy world we're living in, where people don't want to put feelings over fucking facts. It's just absolutely insane. And not only that, like, you had these articles not wanting to misgender Aubrey. And it's like the left was more upset that articles were misgendering the killer than they were of the actual crime itself. I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous. In this interview that was uncut, that Crowder spoke to the media, he brings this exact subject up. Check this out.
Also say that we have heard repeatedly that this was a person that was so mentally ill that there may not be any understanding of why she did what she did, because she was so mentally ill. Mm-hmm. But I don't have the entire conflict. I don't have the entire all of her writing.
I don't actually say she. Why do you say she?
Why do you say she?
Well, I will say she because I have interviewed her attorney for the family, and the family refers to her as she. And although she identified as transgender, she's not here to basically describe for herself what she preferred to be. So at this point, I am going with what the family and how they described her. But, you know, we're also...
But why let me ask you this. Why are we taking the family's word for it, right? Because this person was, I believe, 28 years old, right? Aiden is how they last referred to themselves, right? They were becoming a male. And when they committed this shooting, they identified as a male. This family...
That's right.
...has not seen the man, handed it over to the authorities.
Has not seen the man. According to the family, they have not seen the manifesto.
So when the shooting happened, right, it was a game of walking backwards with landmines, where people were being condemned for using the wrong pronouns. Now, I'm not pulling a gotcha with you. I'm saying that happened with everyone out there when they were covering this. And now people are saying, well, the authority would be the family or the lawyer. The family couldn't know. Why is the family an authoritative source? They handed it over to the police department, who, by the way, have refused to give anything to the public. This is one of those issues, right, where you go, okay, if you want to get to the truth and you are stonewalled by those in positions of power, all we're left with is a couple of days of the shooting, people being attacked for using the wrong pronouns, and then moving on because it's not a convenient tool to use for gun control.
So there you go. I mean, Steven Crowder on point with that. This is the full footage of that interview that a lot of the media is taking and clipping it out of context. So, yeah, check that out. Definitely an interesting story. We should definitely keep up. If there's any other updates that are going on right now, Crowder's just taking a lot of heat for this. And hey, mass respect for Steven Crowder to even release these documents. And this is what true journalism is. Nowadays, it's just you have people like Cenk Uygur and Ana Kasparian that just listens to mainstream media and regurgitates talking points for about 2 years, saying that Kyle Rittenhouse was a, quote, murderer. And then years later, they want to take it back. And she just says, well, I was just listening to legacy media. Yeah, good, great journalism. So that's the type of crap we have to deal with. And we got to really get down to the truth of that. But yeah, great on Steven Crowder, man. Anyways, guys, that's all I have for you today. They are launching an investigation on the suspect, and they want to attempt to put the guy who leaked it in jail. And as you heard there, the parent calling that individual a viper, that he was a viper, and he's bringing up emotions, and now they're all getting angry. It's all part of the devil. The devil wants them to be angry and sad and hateful for the sheer fact of covering up the truth, okay? So, anyways, guys, Trump 2024, this has been Project VOPod. I'm your host, Jake Var, and I'm going to catch you guys on the next one. Like, subscribe, comment down below. Peace.